Vice President Kamala Harris has emerged as a top contender to replace President Biden on the Democratic ticket after his historic decision to withdraw from the presidential race. Biden threw his support behind Harris, saying that his decision to select her as his vice president was the best decision he's made. Since the president's endorsement yesterday, the Harris campaign has raised $49.6 million in donations. Our Nancy Cordes is at the White House following all the latest developments for us. So, Nancy, we know that top key figures within the Democratic Party have already endorsed Kamala Harris, but we haven't heard from some. Can we talk about who we've heard from and who we haven't?
Absolutely. So we've heard from more than half of House and Senate Democrats at this point throwing their support behind Kamala Harris. We heard from the Clintons also echoing that support. The people, the big bold-faced names who haven't yet put their stamp of approval on this are former President Barack Obama, former Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and the current Democratic leader in the Senate, Chuck Schumer. I don't think that means that they don't support Kamala Harris in her bid for the president. I think what it indicates is they don't want to look like they are forcing the rest of the party to get in line. They'd like it to happen more organically. So they're waiting for most of the rank and file to issue their support first. And then I fully anticipate that by the end of the day, not necessarily literally today, but certainly in short order, I think you'll see those leaders come on board as well.
And so there have been several names being floated around as possible VP candidates. We've heard them over the last week or so.
Yes.
What are do they have a common thread? Is there anything that they sort of have in common that it seems like Kamala Harris would need to help her with the ticket?
Yes. So I think having a running mate who can help you win a battleground state is always desirable. And in this situation, she's got a number of people from battleground states to choose from, people who have been vetted, if not necessarily on the national stage, at least in their states, which is important because she is going to have to take off from a standing start here. It's not a lot of time to vet any of these individuals. So I'd say at the top of the list, you'd be looking at Governor Roy Cooper of North Carolina. They were state AGs together, so they go way back. And she just campaigned with him about a week ago in North Carolina. Then there's Governor Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, who she also campaigned with recently, another battleground state. Governor Gretchen Whitmer, of course, big battleground state of Michigan. And then there's Senator Mark Kelly, the former astronaut, another battleground state, Arizona. And then this last individual is not from technically a battleground state. It's Andy Beshear of Kentucky, but he is a popular Democrat in a red state. So he has shown that as a Democrat, he can win over independents, moderates, and even potentially Republicans. So I think you'd have to add him to the list as well. And fun fact, Anne-Marie, I know you've already mentioned the fact that the vice president made about 100 phone calls yesterday to loads of politicians and advocates. And guess what? All 5 of those names I mentioned, she placed calls to all of them yesterday as well.
Interesting. Really quickly, we got like 15 seconds. What should we make of a possible Joe Manchin run?
Well, he flirted with a run for a long time last year, ultimately decided not to do it. If he were to do it this time, he'd have to rejoin the Democratic Party because he left it to become an independent. I think there are a lot of hurdles there. I'll be surprised if he actually does get into the race at the end of the day.
All right, Nancy Cordes, thank you.
You're welcome.